Bonsoir, amis auditeurs, c'est un plaisir pour que nous ensemble avec vous dans l'émission 4G Contré. Aujourd'hui, c'est un jour qui est extrêmement important. Et nous allons plus faire émission en anglais parce que nous allons inviter ensemble avec. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the radio show 4G Contré. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, and we are live on radio Oliver ou bien Radio Olivier. So just like you were listening to Mayor Razbaka, the newly we elected Mayor Razbaka, we are going to talk about politics, and also there was different inauguration and organization around the cities. In Newark, there was a different kind of new councilmen and councilwomen. In Newark is a special place, especially with the new councilwoman, Dana Jackson. We're going to have to talk more about that. In Irvington with Mayor Tony Voss and our dear sister, Shanette Frederick. It was yesterday, July 1st. There was a lot of inauguration. In Orange, new councilman James Ward, and especially in Belleville with the new mayor Frank Bellis. So democracy is going, I'm not gonna say great, but we see different kind of movement to revive democracy in a whole. And the senator Cory Booker was in the inauguration of Frank Velez in Belleville, and he said something really important. We need to restore our democracy. That means there was a lot of hope in democracy right now after this election, and all the polls are standing. This is why we have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Brian Walk. Mr. Brian Walk, he's gonna introduce himself a little bit for us to know who he is, but he's well known in West Orange. Good evening, Mr. Brian Walk. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yes, we have the pleasure to have you with us into the radio show. This is Radio Oliver in West Orange, but people are listening all over the world. And we have the privilege to talk to you for the first time, and we hope it's not going to be the last time. Can you introduce yourself and give us a short biography of Mr. Walk, Brian Walk?
Hi, everyone. Bonsoir. Merci pour inviter moi sur le show. Speak a little Creole, not great Creole.
Like you do,
but it's bonsoir. Madame Wen Haïtien.
That's good. That's good.
So my name is Brian Rock. I live in West Orange with my wife, Marie. We have our two kids that live with us, another kid who's out of the house now in Bloomfield, our dog, and our two cats. I'm currently the president of the Board of Education in West Orange, running for mayor in West Orange as well. Before this, I was a teacher, a high school social studies teacher in East Orange Campus High School for quite a while. That's where I started my career. Now I work for the New Jersey Education Association. It's the teachers union in New Jersey that represents most school employees. I worked in that role as a union negotiator, grievance person, and also now I currently work in a data analyst role down at our headquarters and provide support in analyzing data to other people in the organization.
Okay, you are the president of the Board of Education.
Yes.
In West Orange, and also your wife is Asian, so that's very good. That means you eat a lot of diri avec quoi? Avec griot. So c'est un frère nous parce que is married to Asian woman, and we know, so since you are married with Asian women, so you basically Asian by association. So thank you for that. Thank you for your service in West Orange, and thank you for all you are doing, especially all you embrace the Asian culture. Because I remember the last time I saw you, it was at Elmwood Park. We were watching Haiti against Morocco. Unfortunately, we lost, but we take a lot of pride into Asian football team, and I think we are very proud of them. So talk to me a little bit about the community. What do you know about West Orange, and why you think you are the best candidate to be elected the next mayor of West Orange?
So our family moved to West Orange in 2018, so fairly recently, but I've worked up in Essex County for quite a while. I started working in East Orange in 2007, so it's part of how I was familiar with the area. We were looking for a place to live, and West Orange was kind of that perfect place that checked all the boxes we needed. It was affordable. My wife was a teacher at the time, I was a teacher at the time, so we could afford a house there. We wanted a place that was diverse and where our family could fit in. And we had a daughter who was going into high school at the time, so we wanted a great school system that she could go to. And so West Orange was all those things. We picked West Orange to live in. Since then, we've grown to love it more every day. It is, when you look at the city, though, a city in transition. I grew up in Edison, which is another place that's changed a ton in the last 50 years. It used to be a middle-class white community with a very small immigrant population. That shifted the time I was born and I grew up in the 80s and 90s. And now there's a much larger South Asian population that lives in Edison. And I see a similar dynamic going on in West Orange. The older end of town is primarily Italian and Irish and other European descent. But over the last 20, 30 years, the student population of the schools has become more diverse. Now the rest of the population of the town has become more diverse. And so it's a community in transition that's trying to keep some of that old legacy of the town alive and celebrate it, but also embrace and recognize the new part of town that's coming. That's kind of the struggle that we're dealing with at the time. And I think that one of the reasons I want to be mayor is so that we can embrace all parts of that community and celebrate all parts of the community. And also, I was listening to Mayor Baraka when I was sitting out there getting ready to come in. He said people want a government that works. And so one of the reasons I'm running is that looking at our government in West Orange for the last 3 years in particular, is one that doesn't work. Our mayor and our council have been fighting with each other since she got inaugurated. They've been in court where the mayor sued the council. They had a redevelopment deal for a big property in Main Street that fell through for a movie studio. And time and again, they've been unable to come to the table and work together. And then big priorities in town have fallen by the wayside. And listening to people throughout town, they're kind of fed up with that constant bickering and fighting. And they just want someone that can come in and work together, get the mayor and the council to collaborate instead of constantly fighting. So that's kind of the big picture of why I want to run and how I hope to change and improve West Orange and bring some progress in the next 4 years.
West Orange is a diverse city, right? Diverse city with a lot of Asian, Spanish, and Asian and Indian also. So you said there's a lot of fighting between the mayor and the council members. So, or do you think you can make a difference, especially into the fighting? I remember something similar in Hillside, and the mayor had to go because there was a lot of fighting. So, why do you think you are the best candidate to resolve all this chaos between the mayor and the city council member?
So one reason is all the other candidates are currently involved in that mess. They're either serving on the council or the mayor. So if one of them gets elected, it's probably going to continue a lot of the same tensions that have been there for the last few years. But also it gets back to that idea that West Orange is a town in transition. The current mayor's been there for a long time. She was mayor for one term, but a council member for many years before that. And she's attached to an older kind of group that held power in town for a long time. As newer residents have moved in, they've kind of chafed a little bit against that old machine that's run the town. And so people are ready to kind of put that to bed. I'm someone new coming in. Like I said, I moved there in 2018. So I've been in town long enough to see what needs to be done and to recognize the great things about West Orange, what we can improve. But I also don't have those ties that link me back to some of the things that people dislike about the past. So I think I can come in and be a fresh face that'll not have the baggage of some of the other candidates.
Yes, this is something good, a fresh start with a new face, but also it can be something less because you don't know all the people and the politics between all the people. Do you think you have a good idea of what is going on and or to solve it?
Yeah, I mean, even though I'm new, I've been involved in the community and in politics in West Orange since I moved there. So I moved in 2018. I immediately got involved with our local Democratic committee. So I happen to know the guy that had just gotten elected chair at the time. I got involved at that point with a local board of education election for someone who ran for the board in that year. And then when she finished her term after 3 years, that's when I ran for the board as well. So I've been involved in the political parties, kind of politics of the town, the board of ed politics and community groups throughout town since I've got there. So I'm both new, but also not unfamiliar with people in
Okay, so that's very good. For people who don't know West Orange, I've been in West Orange like for the past 15 years. I never live in West Orange, but I work there in different places, and I go there like basically every day. This is a very great town. One of my complaint with the mayor when they moved the library from very close to Mansfield and then they put it all the way to one circle. But I understand now we got more space, but that was a big fight. People that work inside of the library they were not even happy with it. For the development, especially the Edison love down, and then they're gonna have a different. They're gonna build a new building by the old diner. So, or do you think the development or the investment into the city will impact the old citizen that live down here?
Yeah, and that's one of the big topics in town. The big issues that everybody's talking about is how do we handle that development? We have as a community a important housing need that we have to meet, just like every other community in the state. So we need some development, but it's been kind of piecemeal where developers are coming in and trying to build these big high rises that are going to benefit them. They're going to bring in new people, but not add a lot of other benefits to the community. That's one reason why it's been in conversation for a long time to hire a full-time planner, someone that can have a cohesive view of everything, the affordable housing plan, the redevelopment plan downtown, but that hasn't gotten done. So that's one thing that I would want to do so that as we have a developer that comes in to want to build some kind of apartment complex, we actually get a benefit as a community besides just the new housing, whether it's retail on the bottom, whether it's a community space, and make sure that that benefit is long-term. So you mentioned the library. It's a good example of something that was supposed to be a big benefit to the town. The people that the town ended up with that library building because another developer wanted to build a big high rise. And so the town got that building, but now the town has the liability to maintain that. So they're having to install new air conditioners and spend a ton of money to get that up to speed. So we were promised a free library, but that free library ended up costing a lot more money down the long run. And so you got to, make sure that you're actually getting something valuable when you're giving something in exchange to the developers. So we have an opportunity for development, but we got to make sure that that opportunity pays off to the benefit of everybody in town and not just to the person building the new building.
All right. Now, for the youth, especially in the high school, so for the kids, I remember like 2 months ago, they organized a walkout against ICE because there was a lot of ICE activity in West Orange. I remember West Orange was one of the first city where I started to get the other people. So, or do you think the kids in West Orange, especially in the high school, they appreciate the work that the board is doing?
I think overall the students are pretty happy with things. We have a robust sports program, a robust community arts program, performing arts program. So students are involved in a ton of things at school. The walkout you talked about is a good example of how our kids are very civically engaged. There's a long history in West Orange of kids at the high school, choosing some topic that they want to show how passionate they are about and having walkouts. This is just one of many things that they've either protested or demonstrated about over the last 5 or 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So for the next year, the school for the next year, is there any budget cut? Because I know in Montclair there was a lot of cut to the budget, and there was that the governor had to step in to try to fix things. So, and especially with this administration, they're cutting a lot of funds into the education, or the budget is doing. So, do we have a lot of funding to do all the programs, especially for the ads for the kids? So, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so West Orange, like pretty much every school community in New Jersey, is faced a budget crisis, primarily driven by healthcare costs among employees, but also some other rising costs. And so we did have to deal with that with some budget cuts this year because while the state gave us some funding, that funding is not enough to keep pace with the increase in costs. And so you're seeing this not just in Montclair, but in Livingston and up and down Essex County. Everybody's having to struggle with this. So yes, there were some cuts in terms of individual clubs may have gotten cut or positions got cut and class sizes increased slightly. But the goal of the administration was to make sure that no program was eliminated, right? No massive thing, no school was closed, nothing along that sort. So far, we've been able to weather that storm. But this is, for us, 3 years that this has been going on. For the last 2 years, the state cut our funding. So that was one pressure. And then now for the third year in a row, as costs went up, that made things tougher. So looking ahead, right, in order for us to be stable and for pretty much every district in the state, the state government needs to do a better job of funding our schools, providing a better and more reliable funding stream. Right? Otherwise, it's for the school district can only raise so much taxes and spend so much. The state and or federal government has to step in and support that. We don't see a lot of movement on the federal level to help. And so really it's going to come down to Trenton to provide some support.
For the healthcare, you're talking about the healthcare that weighs up a lot of uncertainties, especially for the old people in West Orange. So for a citizen of West Orange, so do you have any program for them? So are you in contact with them to take their concern and their demand? And or do you think you can do a better job than this administration or this mayor?
I mean, right now through the campaign, I'm going out knocking on doors, talking to people, and hearing their concerns. And then, one of the big concerns about the current administration is communication and transparency. And people may ask questions, but then the answers aren't available on the website. The answers aren't publicized to people. So that's a way that we can use technology. The website, the school district is a good example. Our social media presence is all over the place. I think we can do a better job as a town of getting out information to people, whether it's information about healthcare or something as simple as when our leaves are going to get collected in the fall. It's a simple little complaint, but the town says we're collecting leaves and people put them in the street, but you never know when they're going to get to your block because there's no set schedule, but you could have on a weekly basis, we're going to hit this part of town now, we're going to hit this part of town now, and get that ongoing communication with people so that they know what government's doing and they can be responsive to it.
Okay, I remember for the last snow, there was a lot of snow in West Orange, everywhere basically, and it was a mess in West Orange for people to move. I remember they had to put all the snow by the recreation center in Cherry Street, right, all the way up there by the pool on Cherry Street. So there was a lot of lack of communication. People were complaining everywhere, but in West Orange, I had a lot of complaining, and people call on the radio and tell me to talk about it. So the lack of communication, it's something that especially in this day of time, people got phone, they got tablets, so the administration need to have a better communication between the administration and the people. Before we take a break, or do you think this current council is doing the problem, or is the mayor? Because I remember there was a lot of complaint for the last election when Tammy Williams got elected, and then there was the current councilwoman, she had to leave, and there was a lot of problems. So, or do you think the city council, because if you become the mayor, you're still gonna have to work with them, right? You're still gonna have to work with this city council women and men. So, or do you think they can fix the problem, so they're not gonna be an obstacle for you? They will not have to sue you, or you have to sue them. So, or do you think they not going specifically to each person, but in general?
Yes, there's two parts to that. One is that the current problem is both sides. Right, so a good example of that is our budget process that's happening right now. So for several years now, the town has been late in getting its budget passed. Right now, they're still going through the town budget, and they had a budget workshop last week. They're going to have another one next week. By the time it actually gets passed, it'll probably be September. And the beginning of that process is that the mayor has to transmit a budget to the city council. They're supposed to do that in January or February. This year, and for the past several years, it's been the end of April. So the process started late. But then from the end of April, when the city council got it, they then took far more time than they should to go through it and get to a place where they can finally approve it. Because if they're going to go from May, June, July, August, maybe into September, that's 4 or 5 months. But the typical state timeline is that you get a budget in February, it's passed by the end of April. So it shouldn't take you more than a month or two for the council to look at it, make the revisions they need to, and then pass it. So you've got both sides kind of feeding into it, which is a bigger problem. Mm-hmm. But I also think the mayor has failed to cooperate with them in a way that's making some of those things worse. So you got one councilwoman who wants to get answers about why certain bills, about certain bills, rather than just answer her questions. They're forcing her to come into town to get those answers in person. So they're adding obstacles, and the mayor's kind of going out of her way, it seems, to cause fights. Maybe thinking that by causing the fight, she can get the outcome she wanted by backing them up against a corner. But I think if as mayor, be more proactive, right? You can work together and compromise ahead of time, and then not get to a point where affordable housing plan is another good example. We had a deadline to pass the affordable housing plan. The mayor waited till the very last minute to introduce that. And then at that point, the council had some objection to it. And so they could either do it at the last minute or object to it. They ended up objecting to it. So as a town, we lost because now that plan wasn't done on time. Now developers were able to file lawsuits against the town. But part of that was because the mayor waited until the last minute to get there going. And if she had done that earlier, then they would have been able to work out some of the differences with the council and get things done on time. So there's a problem across the board, but by taking a different approach as mayor, you can alleviate some of those problems.
Oh, okay. I remember there was a big fight also for the LGBT. Mm-hmm. I think it was a flag in front of the city.
Yep.
Or it was not a flag. It's something.
The steps were painted. Yeah, with the rainbow.
Exactly. And then there was a protest in front of the city hall for the city to put the step back, and then the mayor shows up at the protest. They were protesting her, and then she shows up. That was something very uncomfortable. So how do you stand into this situation? Do you think the mayor was wrong, or do you think it was the mayor's fault or the city? Because people said so. Nobody told them they're gonna erase the step. So how do you see you can resolve a situation like that?
Yes, and so another good situation or another good example of how you handle the situation dictates the outcome. So in the beginning, the steps in front of town hall needed to be fixed. If you walked around them, you can see there were bits that were crumbling, and so they needed to do some work to repair those, which is understandable. But this flag, or the rainbow on the steps, is important to the LGBT community in West Orange. So without telling them we're going to remove it, they just removed it. So that's problem number one. But at that point, you still got an opportunity to go back and say, I'm sorry, we're going to replace it, or we're going to do something to make it up to you. But instead, the mayor then doubled down on, we're not going to replace it. And then they said, well, after the protest, or maybe we can do a crosswalk. So there's a lot of towns like Maplewood, Jersey City, that have painted a rainbow crosswalk in town as another public and permanent demonstration of support for the LGBT community. And that hasn't led to anything either. And so you've got an initial, what you might call misunderstanding, if you're being generous about it, and it was just poor timing on the part and poor communication on the part of the mayor to remove the flag at that moment. But then there was an inability to come on the backside and make it up to people, because there were ways to solve that, really simple ones. Either now that the work is done, if you drive by town hall, they've got new steps and new concrete. They could repaint those steps today or next year in Pride Month. That'd be a great time to do it. Or they could get going on painting one of those crosswalks. There's ways to resolve that situation, but that resolution hasn't come.
Okay, so we're gonna take a little break because the heat, it's I don't know. I think special appeal, and I don't remember or when it was that hot in New Jersey. In Haiti, we got it all here, but after this big snow, and then now we get in right inside of the heat, and I think a lot of people are very uncomfortable. So we're gonna take a short break. Time for us to drink a little bit of cool water, and we will be right back. So I'm gonna let you listen to the speech or the inauguration of Frank Velez, because he's a young guy. He did a lot of things in Belleville, and the Senator Cory Booker was there for the inauguration.
I'm going to ask you to stay here for a second. I have the oath. I just want to say to everybody gathered here, I'm a big believer in the majesty and the magic of the universe. I think it's not a coincidence that as I prepare to swear this mayor in is the exact 20-year anniversary, 20 years to this day. I was a young new mayor and sworn in for my first time to be mayor of Newark, New Jersey. And when I talked to the mayor-elect and he asked me to do this, it just gave me chills that he would afford to me such an extraordinary honor. And what I believe is the beginning of his extraordinary, what will be an illustrious career of public service. But the people in this room, I want to remind you all of something. This is not mere ceremony. This is a sacred act we are involved in, a civic sacred act. We are here right now gathered as part of a larger nation that understands where power comes from. We start our sacred document with "we the people." But I want to tell you some truth, that there is no president or member of Congress or governor of a state that knows their communities like a mayor knows their communities. A mayor is really of the people and for the people and by the people. A mayor knows every street and every block. It knows who owns the corner bodega. It knows which high school has teachers that are serving their children. It knows the truth of their community because a mayor is connected to their community. And I am telling you right now, as we think about our country on the 250th anniversary, this man to my right is what our country needs. Our nation needs a renewal. Our nation needs new leadership. Our nation needs men and women like the mayor-elect who are going to bring new heart and new perspective, new energy and new integrity to the work of governing in our nation. This town is a great, historic American town. This town was here before even the founding of our nation. This nation goes back a long way, and here in this community, people were gathering with dreams of days like this. But I will tell you this for this mayor-elect, he is his ancestors' wildest dreams. And for me, he is one of my greatest hopes for an enduring and even greater future for the United States of America. Thank you for this privilege. Yes. I hope there's going to be some folk coming up here that might want to hold a sacred text or, no, you're here. I'm so sorry. Come over here. Where's the best photo shot? I think your photo angles are maybe here. Come over on this side. If there's anybody else that's going to come. All right. I was so young, I wasn't married. I had my mom and my brother when I did this as well. I'm so happy to see the family here. I advised the mayor that he should have shaved his head. Great mayors are usually bald. I told Obama he would have gone so much further in life if he had just shaved his head. Look at him now, he's an unemployed ne'er-do-well. Okay, why don't you all stand on my right? And there we go. We have a sacred text. All right. Who brought the Bible? You did. Does he get to keep this Bible? Yes, good. Good. I still have mine that I swore in 20 years ago today. All right. So, no, you're going to raise your right hand, put your left hand on the Bible. Yes, you got it. Okay. Repeat after me, please. I, Frank Velez III, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people. I, Frank Velez III, do further solemnly swear that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of the office of mayor in the township of Belleville according to the best of my ability. me God. Congratulations, Mayor! Thank you, Senator. Let it also be known that the second ward council seat is now officially vacant. We are now going to administer the oath of office to at-large Councilwoman Michelle Rodriguez.
Well, just like you were listening to, it was Senator Cory Booker. One day he said, just before he swear in Frank Beles, he said, the country need a renew for the 250th anniversary of the United States. So, or can you explain or what is your wish? In West Orange Library, they have a program. They said so to make a wish for the country. So, what is your wish for America?
That things go back to normal and that we can all get together again and get along again. When I was a teacher, I told you before, in East Orange for a long time, and one of the things I taught was AP government to high school seniors that wanted to learn about American government and politics. And so there's like a traditional way that politics works and a traditional type of person that runs, and there's traditional constraints on the president and the checks and balances and all those things that you learn about in school about how the government of the United States is supposed to work. And then since 2016, which was the last year that I taught that class, it was like none of that made sense anymore. Right? The guy that got elected president didn't fit any role, any like type of person that was ever elected before. On paper, he never should have been elected. And all those things that were supposed to constrain the president and keep the rule of law in place seem to be crumbling around us. And the ties that bind the community of the country together seem to be getting pulled apart. That piece has happened many times in U.S. history, and so I think the optimistic hope for the future is that we get to a point where that comes back together. This isn't the first time the country's been torn apart in ways like this, but in some ways it is the first time that the president's really tested the power of that office to take control of things. And that's the more pessimistic view, is that how do you put that genie back in the bottle where where Congress has some power over things, where the courts have power over things, and we have a rule of law where you kind of know and expect what the government can do.
You said you taught civic in school, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what was for just a little bit of time? What was the program was about? It was to teach the kids about government, what is democracy and stuff like that.
So this was AP Advanced Placement, American Politics. So it's basically it's an advanced class for seniors. That the purpose of it was to replace an introduction to political science class that you would take in college. So it was everything from here's what American government is, here's how it functions, here's the history of American government, and that view. We had a different course called Street Law that was more of a like local level civics and criminal justice program to teach kids how local government works and how the law works from that perspective.
Okay, so because I wrote a book on democracy that called Democracy at or Democracy in the Field. So since you taught civics and for a long time, and then there was a program for kids to learn about government. So why do you think people vote this guy twice? Is that because they don't understand politics or democracy, or so 250 years, America has been like a country that one on democracy, the rule of law. So I'm trying to understand. So do you have an answer for this guy to get elected twice when he had nothing to do with democracy? He said it basically. I got nothing. I'm not gonna respect no law. I don't care about the democracy. So why do you think the American people, after 250 years, when they taught democracy or politics in school, so why do you think he got elected twice? I know I'm getting inside into politics, but it's very important for us to understand this situation 250 years ago, and then for us to learn or listen not to make that mistake again, because I'm very involved in democracy. I'm like an ultra Democrat. It's not because I have no relationship with the Democratic Party. No, because I love democracy, and in Haiti, so we have a lack of democracy. It's like 250 years ago, Haiti and over here, they making the same mistake, not working in the purpose of democracy. So why do you think people vote him twice, and when he show he ain't got nothing to do with respect of the law and democracy?
So I'd say there's a lot of reasons you can dig into, but two that I focus on. So one is, and this is not something that's new, right? People tend to vote based on their feelings more than thinking and logic, right? They feel a certain way, either the economy's not working and I'm not making enough money, I can't afford food or a house or whatever, and so that's going to make me dislike the person in charge and look for something else. Like, that feeling is very strong. That's always been a thing. But the current president has had some ability to completely let go of facts. People were always constrained as politicians, like, you got to try to say something that's true. Even if it's not, you're going to come up with some way to make it seem true. But he said, I don't care about that. And he just tapped 100% into that feeling and just was able to do that. And I think part of that is his background in television production. Part of that is his background in, like, making a production of everything. So he's not, there's a movie in the 90s called Wag the Dog. Where, you ever seen it?
No.
Robert De Niro and some other guys. And the short version is that the president had a scandal, and so they wanted to distract everybody from the scandal. And so they essentially invented a war that happened in Europe. And they brought in a movie producer to create a war. This was the 90s, so before the internet. And they had little produced things they could put on the news to make it seem like a war was going on. And then everybody paid attention to this. But, you know, behind the scenes of that story, it's a movie producer who's running politics. I think that's telling to the current moment. You got someone who's in, like, production and TV, that kind of stuff, and the media, who's been able to tap into that. So I think that's one thing. But the other just kind of long-term trend is that American history tends to go back and forth. Revolution and reaction is one way to think about it. And throughout U.S. history, this is the 250th anniversary of the country, there have been many moments of revolution where the country has gone forward, right? The actual American Revolution, the growth of democracy in the early 1800s, the Civil War and Reconstruction, you know, the New Deal in the 1920s, the Great Society in the 1960s, Obama getting elected in 2008. So those moments have pushed the country forward. But when that happens, there's always a reaction against it. There's people that don't like, there's some subset of the country that doesn't like that progress, and they push back. And so those are the people that elected the current president today. But those are the people that during Reconstruction, or the aftermath of Reconstruction in the late 1800s, rolled back all the progress that was made then and implemented the black codes to segregate things. Right, so you've got progress and then pushback. But then if you zoom out long enough, there's going to be another point of progress in the future. So we're kind of stuck in that moment, that nadir of reaction, where people are pushing back against the progress. And we just got to, I don't know if it's 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or what, but there will be a moment, hopefully, there's always been before, and we hope there is again, there's going to be a moment where that turns around, and there's going to be another moment of revolution that moves us forward. So that's the optimistic.
Yeah, it's just a roller coaster. Sometimes you go down, and then sometimes you go up, and people just sometimes they just care about their self-interest, and they have the tendency to blame other people for the problem without thinking twice. They go for the easy thing, and the easy thing gonna put them into a lot of problem. Well, so this is the history of humanity. This is the history of humanity. You thought some people after 250 years they're not gonna fall for it, but unfortunately they did fall for it. Now, let's go back to the main topic, the election in this coming in November. So when gonna be the election? What is the dates for the election?
I think it's November 3rd.
No, November
First Tuesday.
first Tuesday, yeah, 2026. So what is your calling for the people? So what are you working on? What is your message for the community? So why they should vote for you?
So, like I mentioned before, the overarching message is that we want a government that works, that we've had for the last couple of years, a government that's been dysfunctional because the mayor and the council have been unable to work together, and I want to change that. Some specific examples of that are one, I want to get the budget process done on time. The city has had its own budget issues where they're taking on debt, and they're constantly struggling with how and where to spend money. So to get that under control, part of that is they got to plan early in the year and not let the budget get away from them. So I would, as mayor, introduce a budget on time, which means by the end of February, and then work with the council proactively to get that done, approved, and adopted on time by the end of April, so that we have a budget as a town and we're not trying to make up time later in the year. Mentioned it before, I think we need a full-time planner. Development is a huge issue in town. There's individual development things that are happening, projects that are potentially coming along. We have our affordable housing plan that's not all that great, but that was put forward to try to fix or to address our affordable housing need in West Orange. And so we need someone that can take a better look at how to do that rather than just build up big condominium or build up big apartment buildings, maybe use ADUs, these auxiliary dwelling units. They're a backyard cottage, a garage that gets renovated, a tiny house you put in your backyard. There's other ways to help people afford housing without putting up a big apartment building, because the apartment building often has 20% of those units are affordable, but the other 80% are incredibly unaffordable. People that people might come from the city because they have New York City money to live there, but the people that live in West Orange aren't paying $3,000 or $4,000 to rent a 2-bedroom apartment. And then 3, just address people's quality of life issues more directly. So that the government's been non-responsive to some issues in town. A good example that people have been complaining about for a long time is parking down in the valley on the border of Orange and West Orange, out by Valley Street there. Part of the problem is that there's a private school, Seton Hall Prep, in that neighborhood.
Parking, yeah.
And so the students park in the streets. There's not enough parking as it is. So when the students are there, the residents have nowhere to park.
Mm-hmm.
They've been complaining about this for literally 15 years. A woman came to the last council meeting, said she sent her first email about it in 2009. And they've been fighting for parking permits in that area, which would help get the students out. There's another place up the street for the students to park. And then the residents will be able to come home and find somewhere to park. So it's one example of a quality of life issue that doesn't cost a lot of money for the town to fix. It's just about problem solving and addressing, being responsive to the needs of the community. And then a final piece would be just getting back to celebrating the diversity of town. You mentioned before the issue of the pride flag on Town Hall, which I think is one way that expresses itself. Another is that we haven't had a Haitian Flag Day celebration in West Orange for a couple of years. We didn't have one, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Councilman Burks and Lenius from East Orange came and was part of that. But as the last few years, not just the Pride community or the LGBTQ community and the Haitian community, but other ones, we've pulled back from celebrating things in the same way that we used to, and we need to get back to that. West Orange is a diverse community. It's one of the strengths of our community, and everyone in town should feel safe, seen, and celebrated. And part of that is having these celebrations where people can, show up in front of Town Hall, raise the Haitian flag, raise the pride flag, and say, and celebrate themselves that way. So I think that's a final one there.
Do you have any idea on the pilot program? Because there was a pilot program for the parking next to Seton Hall, and the police department put a pilot program to see how they can resolve that. So do you think the pilot program gonna work, or they should make some street next to Seton Hall one way so people gonna just park on one way? So they do have any idea on how the pilot program is doing?
Yeah, so they haven't implemented one yet. So people have been complaining about this. The response from the administration was to propose one-way streets. They would take all the streets between Rollinson and then south of there and make them one way. So the good side of that, and pro con. The good side is that you would have more parking, because right now you can only park on one side of the street. They're thin streets, only like 30 feet wide. So to have parking on both sides and then two ways of traffic, it's hard to get through. So if you made it one way, you'd be able to park on both streets. You'd increase the number of parking spots. So that's good. But you're also creating a lot more traffic. That bottom street already dumps out into 280, and that has a ton of traffic in the morning. Rollinson also dumps out on the Northfield. There's a ton of traffic in the morning. So people that live in that area would face a nightmare trying to get in and out. Right? They're trying to drive to the school up the street. It's only a couple miles to the middle school, but maybe you got to take your kid to middle school before you go off to work. It could take you 2 minutes, but if these are all one-way streets and you're getting stuck in traffic, it could take much longer. So people that lived there didn't want it. So they said no, and so the administration's pulled back on that one-way street proposal. What they're looking at now is a way to do parking permits in that area. They haven't put out an exact plan. The mayor's administration has said they don't think it's going to work, but because the residents have asked for it, because the council has asked for it, they're going to put something forward at one of the next upcoming meetings. What that would do, or how it could work, is you have resident permit parking in the area. So if you live in the area, you get a permit, you can park in the street. If you're not, it's 2 hour or limited parking because maybe you're going to visit somebody, but you couldn't park there for the whole day. Seton Hall Prep has a parking lot about a mile up the street on Prospect, on by the Shillelagh Club, so the kids could park there, the school could shuttle them down. That would kind of solve that issue. Would solve the whole issue. There's still not a lot of parking in that area.
Yes.
But two other ways to address that are, one, you got commercial vehicles that are sometimes parked there and shouldn't be. And so there's been a lack of enforcement, a lack of attention paid sometimes to those streets. And so if you can't be there 24/7 to enforce these things, but if you have like a blitz of enforcement where you go out for a week or so, East Orange is a good example. The mayor goes out, has his mayor on the block where they just go up and down, they knock on the door, they talk to everybody, and if there's something going on, they deal with it right there. So if you go out there once a month, once every other month, have a period of frequency where you're in there to address those issues and then enforce that would help. And so it's like a multifaceted approach where the parking permits take out some of the excess demand, but then by enforcing the existing parking laws and ordinances, you can address some of that as well. And you got to do it all and attack from every side and really address it strongly for a couple of weeks or a short period of time, and it should get better over time.
Okay, so I know in East Orange, the mayor on the block, so where you go visit some street, talk to the resident directly. He just did that out there yesterday. But in West Orange, the mayor never do that, but she got a mayor office. I think I went there like once, but people, when you go to the mayor's office and you always in your office, well, so people might come and see you, or they might say, I'm not gonna go there because it's your office. And anyway, so what if you become the next mayor? Do you think you're gonna have your mayor office, or you're gonna do a mayor on the block?
Yeah, I think all the above are great. Like, it's good to have a time when people can come see you, because if you go out and knock on somebody's door, they may or may not be there. Right? So only going out, you're gonna miss people that are at work or what have you. So if you have a time, once a month on Thursday nights, you can come see the mayor. That's great, because then you can get there. But there's some people that just aren't going to go to town hall. Maybe it doesn't fit their schedule, whatever. So that's your only way to connect with people. That's not going to work. So you need to have a mix. And so in campaigning right now, I'm out knocking on doors and talking to people, and you meet a ton of people. Right? If you watch the council meeting, there's a subgroup of people that's always there. They always show up. They always talk. And it's a very small group of people in town. But when you go out to someone's house and knock on their door, there's a whole new gamut of people out there that care about what's going on. They may not be tuned in 100%, but they want to be heard too. They want to tell you what their issue is, what their complaint is. And so having a mayor on the block program like Ted Green, where you go out and pick a street or two and do that, I think is great. Or some other way that if you're going to have office hours, rotate that around. So rather than always be up at City Hall, 1 month, maybe you go to one of the fire departments down in the valley. Maybe next time you're up, a different part of town. That way you can get the different parts of town in case people can't get to City Hall to see you.
Yeah, I think that's very, very smart. So you're gonna save a more board of people, so people can go see them, people can come and see you, and I think more people will be in touch with the mayor. I think that's very good. And so you talk about the city council meeting. So last time I went to the city council meeting in West Orange, it was about for the West Orange at City Council. So they needed the budget, they needed some help. So why do you think people are very vocal in West Orange, especially because in East Orange they not that vocal into the city council meeting. In different cities they not that vocal, especially when you look at the population or the size of the population that live into the cities, and when you watching and or when you go to the city council meeting, there's not enough people. So why do you think is a different something is different in West Orange than other cities? It's because the demographic of the people.
I think it's partially just the culture of the town. It's since I've been there in 2018, that's what people do, right? When people are upset about something, they show
go
up
to the
at a council meeting, and then when there's nothing to be upset about, they don't. They make a Board of Ed meeting, right? You can have a Board of Ed meeting for months out of the year where there's no one in the audience, and then when there's something big on the agenda, people show up. But that's part of the culture of West Orange, that people do that when they're, it's the West Orange Arts Council on the agenda, then the people that care about that are going to show up. If it's parking in the valley, the people that care about that are going to show up. And so they coordinate each other to show up at certain points, but they're not there all the time.
So do you think that's a broader problem for the nation, like a nationwide problem? So sometimes people say, I'm not going to go vote. This vote, it's a midterm election. That's not gonna do nothing. But when something is very big like this situation, everybody's mobilizing. Oh, we need to save democracy. We need to defend democracy. But when it's time to vote for some in some election, especially black people, I can say they do not show up. So do you think it's the same kind of problem at a larger scale?
Yeah, I mean, I think voter turnout is a big problem, and people being more active is important. But there's also between those two extremes, right? I'm going to show up once a year to vote, or I'm going to show up at a city council meeting 2 times a month to express myself. You got to have more participation in the middle. Because even if you just show up to vote once, then the guy gets elected and he does whatever he wants for the next 4 years, and then if you're not tuned into it, who knows what they're going to do? But then if everybody that wants to be heard shows up at a city council meeting, that council meeting is not going to happen, right? If we have 20 people show up and each of them get 5 minutes to talk, now you've had 2 hours of public comment before the council can even do anything. If you had 40 people show up, now your whole night is gone. And that's only 40 people out of a town of 50,000 people. So it's not logistically possible or good in any way for everybody to show up at the council meeting to be heard.
Okay.
So you got to have a way for people to be active, engaged, and speaking out, and for government to hear them in between, and then to be responsive so that you're not getting people showing up angry at the meetings, but you're also not only getting, they're doing more than just voting. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the answer. So the difference between you and other people, you actually taught politics. You actually know your stuff. It's just like you come here, vote for me, and things gonna happen. You understand the mechanics. You understand the logic of a politics. You understand how people are gonna react. So what is the root cause of some situation, and why people are not going to vote, and what is the implication when people just show up to some council meeting and they show up angry. They show up angry just because of it already being done. So it's gonna be so difficult to repair the situation or to restore, just like we're talking now, just like Senator Kobe said, we need to restore democracy. So we should be in a position to prevent the damage before the damage is being done. And now there's a lot of damage that is being done, especially in democracy, especially into minorities. So to follow up on that, West Orange is one of the cities around that East Orange, Newark, that very late to take any measure to protect immigrants. So, or do you see that, and or do you think the city should act to prevent all those ICE raid or further a trouble inside of the community?
So I think it's a missed opportunity for the town. On the one hand, it's hard to do a lot as a municipality to stop ICE from coming in. Mm-hmm. There's only limited amounts of things you can do. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, if they're going to come in, they're going to come in. But you can set up things as a municipality to say, we're not going to cooperate with you. You can't come on our property. You can't set up at the library and just randomly pick people up. Mm-hmm. Right, our resources are ours, and you got to go do your own thing. And so most of Essex County has passed some kind of resolution like that. Newark had an executive order. The county just passed a resolution for Essex County. I think East Orange had an ordinance, and many other towns have as well. We've got a group of neighbors in West Orange that have come to the council and said we want to have a similar ordinance, and they've been rebuffed. The majority of the council said we don't want to do this because we don't think it's going to, basically that it's symbolic. It's not going to accomplish anything. And if the mayor's not willing to either champion it, or we're Falkner-Act town just like Newark, so the mayor Rasparaga had done it initially by executive order. The mayor could do the same thing in West Orange, but she's chosen not to. And if you look, there was just recently in Bloomfield an example of ICE showed up. They were at the municipal complex. They were, and the mayor, they were staging a raid or doing something, but the mayor said, "Look, this is our property. You're not welcome here." And then they had to leave. They had to leave. And so that's a good example of how this isn't going to stop ICE 100%, but you can have an ordinance that can protect the town and send the message that our neighbors are protected and you're welcome here, and that we're going to try and do what we can as a municipal government to make you not be afraid. And so I think that's, again, a missed opportunity that the town could have done. There's no risk on the town side, but it's something that's a net benefit to a portion of the community that we should have done sooner. And if I was, if I'm elected in the fall, I would do it in January as soon as I got into office as an executive order.
Now, talk a little bit about affordability, because in New York with Mayor Zohan Mamdani and with Frank Bayless or different other city, so some people they're not all that big onto the progressive, or because people gonna give them names now, and they're gonna attack them on that. I'm not gonna even mention the term, but or do you think you can do a better job on affordability for the city, for the resident, especially for the immigrants, because sometimes they lack of a lot of things.
Yeah, and so at a local level, it's tough sometimes because your options are limited, right? A lot of that has to come from federal programs that provide support, state programs that provide funding. One thing the municipality has control over, though, is the affordable housing plan that we have. So again, like the lazy way to do it is say, here's a bunch of sites, the developer can come in, build a giant high rise. That high rise is 20% affordable. So a few people are going to get to rent an apartment, but the other 80% are going to cost $3,000 or $4,000, and no one can afford them. And it's not doing anything to really create more supply. It's not helping open up housing supply for people that want to, buy a first-time house to get out of their parents' house and move into a first-time homeowner situation. And so it's not really addressing the problem. So you can do other things. I mentioned before having an ADU, where if you're a homeowner, you can build a tiny house in your backyard, and that becomes a rental, and then someone can rent that. And as a town, we can have a program where we say we're going to, forgive some of the permit fees you pay, maybe have a grant program that provides you with some funding. And at the end of the day, it's a net win for everybody, because yes, the town is providing some funding for that, but that building in the back is going to cause them to pay more property taxes. They're going to collect rent from the person. It's going to be an affordable unit. And so somebody gets a place to live, the homeowner collects some revenue, and then the town gets additional property taxes. So it's a win-win-win situation compared to this high rise that goes up where you're not helping as many people, and then you're not getting the property tax benefit that you'd otherwise get. So there's creative ways to go about it. And then another problem is that we have an aging community. We have fewer young families, more people that their families have grown up, their kids have graduated from school, they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s, they're retired, and they're living in a big house. Now, if they want to stay there, that's great, but they're also having an affordability issue. And so one way to help them is that maybe they want to retrofit things to have a apartment that they can rent out in their house. So now they've got some supplemental income to help pay for things. They're also creating housing for people that need it. And again, it's like a win-win-win. But you have to, at some point, have some turnover in that housing stock. Either people need to sell it because you've created senior housing, and we have some senior housing, but we could probably use more, or you're creating additional opportunities within those homes where people can retrofit an apartment that someone can live in.
All right. So, but for you talk about the housing a lot. What about for the groceries? Because I know in Newark, they said they're gonna start with some kind of government supermarket or something, and in New York also with Mayor Zohan Mamdani. So, do you think West Orange can do something like that or similar thing to help the resident, or what is your idea on this project?
Yeah, as a municipality, I don't think we have the funding to be like a New York is much bigger.
Yes,
they're able to do more because they're billions of dollars. millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right, there was a state grant or something that was going to allow us to do that.
Oh,
Absolutely, I would do that. I think what's more within our ability to control is to engage the community to help each other out.
okay.
And so, people, we always have had a community of people that have food banks and things in town, but we can expand that. We expand accessibility to that. In Livingston, they had a big townwide food drive where every kid that was in a club at the high school was involved in this, and they brought in boxes and boxes of food that then got sent out to the food drives out in the community. And so it's a good way that you can partner with community groups. We have a Kiwanis Club in town, Alliance Club in town, all these groups that want to do community service. We've got students at the high school that want to do it. And if we can direct them into doing something that's going to, if food insecurity is the issue, you can direct them to help with that. And so one of the things I've been toying with, and I'm still exploring the parameters of it, is we have a bunch of boards and commissions in town, but I think one of them should be a board on community engagement that brings together some of those groups, those volunteer groups that are always looking to do things, but they all kind of operate in silos. And so if you get them together, some people that represent all those groups, and say, all right, for this month we want to focus on this, and then they can all coordinate rather than have a bunch of different isolated things. So I think that's one way that you can channel. West Orange is great, and the people want to give back to the community, but sometimes you don't know how. And so if you can channel that into something, it's going to have a more targeted and impactful moment, because
now we getting to a close. I remember Kwebuka just said something. When you are a mayor, you need to know the city well, you need to know the street, bodyguards. So my question for you, how well do you know West Orange? Did you take time to know all the street, the bodyguards, the story of the city, know the people well, who is the elder person in some black, or you are keep doing that while you're knocking on the doors?
I mean, as I've lived in town, I've sought out ways to understand it better. But a good example this year, I've literally run every road in town.
Okay.
I'm a runner. I run every morning. I run marathons. And so this year I thought it'd be interesting to just go around and see. You get stuck doing the same thing. So I would go to the reservoir and run around the loop every morning and see people there. But I see the same people. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to explore the rest of the town. So there's an app. It's called City Strides.
Okay.
And when you're watching
City Strides.
And when you watch tracks where you've run, it'll check off on the app which street you've gone to.
Okay.
So over the course of 3 months, I ran every street, up on the Verona border, down the border Orange, over by Bloomfield, and saw all kinds of different people, all kinds of different houses, from the mansions that people live in on Ridge Road down to the multifamily places that they live in down in the valley. And that, literally the street, but also the people and the communities throughout town, I got to experience directly that way. And it's kind of like a shtick, like, I ran every street in town. But now I plan to get back out, and whether it's knocking on doors, whether it's seeing people after I get elected and having ways to connect with them, to continue that, because I think it's important, to your point before, participation, that the mayor is involved in the town, the mayor is approachable, and that people can come to him and say, this is what we need, and then the government can think about how do we address that.
Okay, did you go by the I forgot the name of the street, by Whoopi Goldberg, because Whoopi Goldberg.
Okay, so the one place I couldn't go is Llewellyn Park.
But yeah,
that is a gated community. I ran up to the gate and then I turned around. But I do know someone who lives there. He's not as wealthy as Whoopi, and he's a runner. So this summer I'm going to try to reach out to him and see if he can sneak me in so we can go for a few runs.
Yes. All right. Okay, so thank you so much, and you can close with a statement or to remind people who you are wanting for mayor of West Orange, and make another appeal for the people to vote for you.
Thank you, and thank you again for inviting me here. This isn't my last time. I'm happy to come back during the election. Happy to come back after the election. My name is Brian Rock. I'm running for mayor in West Orange, and I'm asking for your vote. My slogan is experience plus leadership equals progress. I have experience as a leader on the Board of Education, and I've got work experience as a teacher, a union negotiator, and a data analyst. Those are all skills that I can put to working in government. I've got, again, leadership experience on the Board of Ed in different community groups. And when you combine those two, the ability to work with people like on the city council, that'll lead to progress for town. So that's the hope. And ultimately, we need a government that works. We've seen what's happened the last few years where that government has not worked together, where things have fallen through the cracks because of the conflict between the mayor and the city council. And so while there's a bunch of different little things I could tell you about what I want to accomplish, the big theme is making government work together and bridging that gap and getting past that division. So I would ask for your vote in November, but if you want to learn more about me, you can also do that on my website. It's Brian Rock, BrianRock.us. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. You just look for Brian Rock for West Orange Mayor. You'll find either of those. So follow me. And if you've got something you want to see addressed, reach out through either on the website, there's a contact form. You can message me on Instagram or on Facebook, and I'll get in touch. Because at the end of the day, it's about listening to the people and what you need to enjoy your life in West Orange. So I want to hear about what your issues are. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And it's not gonna be your last participation into this radio show, because the election gonna be in November, right?
Yeah, we got
November. Yeah, we got a few months, and the Asian communities is experiencing very hardship, so we need all the support that we can get. And I know Al Sharpton did a conference, I think it's today, to support the Asian community. I'm trying to find what he said, and we're gonna need all the people that really understand our community and how they can support us into this very difficult situation, because every time they keep attacking the Asian community, keep attacking, and they do that not only in the US but also in Haiti. In Haiti is a mess right now, just because a lot of history. I know you know a lot of politics, and also you are married to Asian women, so you know basically pretty much the situation that is going on. So we are going to listen to Al Sharpton a little bit. The time for me to help our guests to return to his car. So let's hear from Mr. Al Sharpton, one of the person that I listen basically every day. I listen to Al Sharpton basically every day.
And we're glad that he gave us a good inspirational message. I recognize the best tune-out national field director. And glad to have tuned up from North Carolina. And I'll mention again our media mogul, Rachel Nordling, is here. Give her a hand. I'm mentioning Rachel twice because I'm going to raise the offering, and I need the well-to-do black folks to hang around for the offering. Let me also welcome a delegation that I invited this morning, led by Reverend Leslie Thomas, our Haitian American leaders and friends. Stand up. Stand up. Are we with Haiti? Are we with the people of Haiti? Dr. Bird and I had breakfast yesterday with Bishop Hyde of the Episcopal Church. And we're going to have a press conference on Thursday at 11 a.m. at 26 Federal Plaza, and dealing with the deportation issue. And we're also going to now deal with the Haitian situation. We cannot let Trump do what he intends to do to Haiti. There must be a resistance from us. The fact that they removed TPS and has put Haitians, and that's temporary protective status. They can grab people anytime. And many of you that are African American need to quit this. What are you talking about me? Walking down the street, you look just as Haitian as anybody else. They will grab you and hold you till you can prove that you ain't Haitian. So I want all of us to understand this is our issue. We're not doing it for Haitians. We're doing it for us. And we do it for everybody. I don't care who it is. You got to fight for what's right. Trump needs to get his hands off Haiti. Before I get into my message, let me remind you to watch Politics Nation without Sharpton do what he intends to do to Haiti, there must be a resistance from us. The fact that they removed TPS and has put Haitians and that's temporary protective status. They can grab people anytime. And many of you that are African American need to quit this. But they talk about me walking down the street. Walking down the street, you look just as Haitian as anybody else. And they will grab you and hold you till you can prove that you ain't Haitian. So I want all of us to say, this is our issue. We're not doing it for Haitians. We're doing it for us. And we do it for everybody. I don't care who it is.
Ok, là, nous t'avons entendu Al Sharpton, qui lui-même qui t'a rappelé communauté bien africaine-américaine que et travail à faire, il pas seulement fait pour Haïti, non, il pas fait seulement pour Haïti, mais parce que nous doit machine là, africain-américain, on est un coup Denzel Washington par exemple. On est un coup Denzel Washington ou bien Samuel L. Jackson ou bien même 50 Cent. Même 50 Cent ou là et me sont pas chez la ria et puis yo monsieur là ensemble avec yo monsieur son la Dieu son la Dieu dit là qui nous foutre la patte sous monsieur qui nous foutre la patte sous lui en attendant que monsieur prouve que qu'il pas Dieu donc amis auditeurs c'est la situation lui-même extrêmement compliquée situation vraiment compliquée. Et quand il monde là qui dit bon fuck et bagay yo même yo changé. Donc jeudi t'es supposé y a une conférence National Action Network là. National Action Network sous situation qui a été présentée dans sous question haïtienne. OK. Là, je me parlé ensemble avec pasteur Thomas, il était texte, mais pasteur Thomas et puis camarade de combat nous de longue date. Les camarades de combat nous de longue date. Camarades de combat nous de longue date. Donc, li campé là, cap ba écoute mais comprendre ensemble avec communauté et dans toute situation et pasteur Thomas lui-même dit toujours ensemble avec communauté à tout camper là et vieux compatriote et c'est un haïtien du pays et j'aime vous capable de dire là c'est un haïtien du pays qui lui-même est campé ensemble avec communauté et bataille du bec des zones pour garder qui ça si tu as un minimum, parce que son minimum, on a cherché. Nous va mettre tout bas là pour nous. Nous va prendre tout bas pour nous. Si on seulement chercher là, petit minimum pour comprendre, pour nous gérer conscience tout, pour dire pour gérer le mauvais temps. Parce qu'en général, son mauvais temps est passé sous pays. Son mauvais temps qui lui-même est là-bas. OK. Là, amis auditeurs, t'es gagné différents inauguration qui était faite avec des magistrats, concile men, vous comprenez, et différents mondes qui est monté sous question de l'élection qui était passée. Donc, là, nous avons politique of the affordability politics. Ça veut dire tout le monde a essayé de chercher là pour parler pour le peuple là, pour être côté bagalan capable d'effort. Je pense qu'en pile dans nous, bientôt on réalise que la situation est extrêmement difficile, pas seulement pour les pays d'Haïti, mais à travers le monde. À travers le monde, la situation est extrêmement compliquée. Extrêmement compliquée pour un pile raison. Non, et Walgreens, on a acheté 3 caisses d'eau pour $8. Eh bien, quand il y a là, ils mettaient 3 caisses d'eau pour $2. Ça, c'est affordability. Ou te qu'on a acheté nos restaurants, ou te qu'on prend on l'âge, et bien qu'on y a là, soit mandon l'âge, 10 riz, mon catafal tiré, mon cadéric tiré avec 3 plus viande, vous comprenez, banane, puis sauce. Alors ça, yo bon salade met sous. Lorsqu'on demande là, on médium, on va ça, yo qu'on arrange. Et l'homme de l'argent, il te même mettre gratter non manger. Qu'on y a là comme si quantité de qui on te qu'on prend dans manger ouais quantité de qui a réduit. Ça rentre dans affordability. Ça veut dire une piche. Si on te qu'on mettre 3 cuisses poules, vous comprenez 2 ailes ensemble avec 3 pieds poules pour et puis là ils vont se réduire. Ça veut dire affordability, ça veut dire même dans le quantité de coups de qui est quantité de coups de qui on te qu'on fait dans platelage là. Mais quand là, il dit pas comme ça, ou obligé à réduire. Tandis que grand goût nous pas réduit, fal nous pas réduit. Vous comprenez? Quantité de bresson qu'on belle va réduire. Ça veut dire les gars fait une plus sexy, là y a une plus cher. Tandis que même là, nous saute mettre un fond nèg là trillionnaire. On sel nèg qui gon trillion de dollars. Ça pour le faire, il pas connaît. Ça veut dire, la marché grande petite, la marché prend femme, vous comprenez? La marché prend on sait des bagailles, et puis, ou même là, qui dans zone là, bah, la mal passé. Chalet nan dengwen nous bre plus l'eau, nous obligé limer ici, vous comprenez? Nous obligé acheter ventilateur, tandis que nous pas aucun aide. Nous pas ni répondre, ni relais, ni répondre. Ça veut dire, chalet nan dengwen nous avons une glace, on a là, c'est marché dans tout côté pour joindre de l'eau. Ça dit de l'eau pas regarder. Ça dit là, nous avons n'importe 3 bidons de l'eau. Et bon, fait une petit freezer nous là chargé. Et faut dire Jack et Val Messi, parce qu'il a fait maquette, on va il fait shopping. Ça dit là, nous avons de l'eau nous, pour nous là, nous passer soif. Ça dit si pas la piche là, on va l'obliger là, et il y a un problème. Donc, question de affordability, c'est minorité qui gagne. Kounya là, ou fin gagne, question de TPS. Zami auditeur qui te, si nous pas connaît ou bien monde qui va réaliser, on va aller avec ici dans TPS. Son nèg qui était déjà dans problème. Son nèg li quitte d'elle, qui était famille, qui était madame, qui était petite, qui était frère, qui était sœur. L'équité toute une génération de l'elvin yon job toute famille c'est sous compte li anniversaire c'est sous compte li baptême c'est sous compte li comprenez et l'amour c'est sous compte li si moun fête c'est sous compte li à l'école qui côté moun ça pral gen temps pour faire ti kan qui job li pral faire li pral joindre pour le café inoff économie. Parce que conseil de me cap oh et moun nan fait 15 ans, fait 10 ans, il pas régler rien. Même moun qui fait un pays c'est choule la choule. Tandis qu'on a un système pesé sous c'est un système qui fait des millionnaires, des billionnaires, des trillionnaires. On sait le monde qui a juste parlé tel pas dit c'est tel pas date. Si moun nan te vini, li pas gon poule sous compte li en Haïti. Li pas gen madame, li pas gen petite. Li vini le jeune. Bon, il y a des qui viennent jeunes. Et puis elle cherche un quoi dans le pays d'Haïti mettez dans 51 yo. Ça peut se comprendre. Et puis les quoi a vini la flanc ou bill li ingrat on ne peut plus ça ou capable comprendre ça sorti minorité aussi. Mais la majeure partie des même les moun à l'école li fait la li étudier nes. Li gen bill en Haïti, li gen bill ici. El gon système pesé sous c'est un système de crédit cap sous c'est pour le gros vieux machine faut le payer pour le assurance faut le payer li pas compte tout trou nan manche qui gagne dans pays pas bon ici pour le save l'argent. What the hell you système pas fait pour lui son système qui fait contre moun noir un système qui fait contre minorité et ça faut qu'on connaît et qui va des premiers tours faut qu'on acquiesce pour faire ça faut bon conseil de activité obligé balade vous comprenez conseil de caille ou pas conseil de zone ou pas aller tant que la me parle ça avec Abraham monsieur nous même en fait la question on va aller on gated community. Moi-même, tout en mal, et les loin pas. Tout en m'a viré Kaibo et bon Kai. Et Whoopi Goldberg là. Quand Whoopi Goldberg là, qui là dans son gens et en bas là. Son gated community. Même dans tout temps où on est m'a rentrer descendre dans gated community. Mais c'est pas la vérité. Et pas la vérité, m'ka rentrer parfois. Mais pour dans son autre tête chargée. Donc, eh ben, comme si tout le monde a bien passé. Donc, nous, notre système, faut système n'a changé. Et non, moi, quand je viens là, au pral tendance de attaque, au pral tendance de nègre, c'est socialiste. Puisque vous voulez pour tout le monde manger, vous pral bon non. Puisque vous voulez pour tout le monde santé, vous pral bon non. Eh bien, c'est la bataille qui va commencer. C'est là, tout le monde range pied nous, tout le monde qui fait aux Américains, make sure que vous pouvez voter. Parce que c'est le premier candidat nous gagnons dans l'émission, mais il n'est pas le dernier candidat. Nous avons gagné différents autres monde qui peuvent venir là, qui ont sorti West-Orange, qui ont sorti East-Orange, qui ont sorti en série de côté, pour que nous soyons capables de parler, pour que nous soyons capables de parler de politique. Parce que les taxes la paye, nous avons fourré toute zone, toute pack, toute zig en dedans. Discord, on est touché. Et state l'appareil, li grave. Vous comprenez? Fédéral l'appareil, li grave. Vous comprenez? Là, on va l'acheter même, local tax, pareil, tu prend. Quand il s'agit de payer taxes, tout n'est pas pareil, tu prend. Mais quand pour un boss, ça vient pour aller, on qui nous maman, qui nous papa, qui s'y a tout, qui pas pu gagner, qui l'a jeté, qui l'a ramassé. Donc, faut que tout le monde focus sur affordability. On est capable de parler politique ensemble avec vous. Mandel, qui est-ce qui finance? Mandel, s'il campe beaucoup de trillionnaires, ou bien Mandel, s'il campe beaucoup de masques. Parce que c'est pas tout le monde qui t'a aimé là pour bien manger, pour boire. Parce que quand il là, ça va garder. Donc, l'important, amis auditeurs, pour que nous connaissions qui est-ce qu'on s'en va avec nous, qui est-ce qui a ensemble avec nous, qui est-ce qui parle avec nous, qui est-ce là qui est pas respecté et droit. Là, nous allons tirer puis à des niveaux parce que là, tout est focus sur le mondial. Là, vous comprenez? Là, l'Espagne et fait et Jérémie, vous comprenez? Là, c'est Portugal ensemble avec Croatie et Témélé. Et n'a pas approché là, bon, je dis à 2 juillet, nous allons mettre 4 juillet, nous allons tomber là, nous allons chavirer dans 19 juillet, qui c'est à faire Coupe du Monde. Vraiment, comme je souhaite tout, qu'est-ce calme, relax nous, sous on gagne super du perdu, mais qu'embé et l'esprit ou vraiment calme. Donc là, amis auditeurs, encore de affordability politique. La question de affordability, hein, et pendant ce sommet à nous parler, parce que le prix électricité après le monter, parce que bon bandé qui fait prix courant monter, c'est parce que yo gen zami yo gen beaucoup de yo, qui a fait une série de data center qui mélange, qui prend pile courant et puis qui a fait malheureuse et les pots cassés. Donc, tout ça, nous devons parler de eux. Parce que nous-mêmes, nous avons subi. Quitte les garanties pièces, quitte les garanties pièces, nous avons subi. Quitte les qui ont green card, quitte les qui n'ont pas green card, nous avons subi même ça. Quitte les qui sont américains, qui ne sont pas américains, nous avons subi même ça. Quitte les africains-américains, quitte les blancs, nous tous avons subi même ça. Les prix manger à monter, ils ne pas prendre prix manger à, ils disent, ah, mon cher, ou sont haïtiens qui nous voient nous manger à, et puis nous manger. Il va dire africain-américain, non, ou sont africain-américains ou là longtemps, qui t'aiment ça gratis. Et c'est ça pour l'église, vous même parler. L'église, on ne va pas même passer à côté, on ne va pas parler de la politique, parce que nous, tout le temps. Parce que les prix manger à cher, l'église en cas on minimum, les gars disent là, chaque mercredi, là, apparaît, chaque mercredi, dans le mois, apparaît là, dans la moubaye et dans le biscuit. Mais, si vous ne mangez pas pile, madame, ne mangez pas pile. Donc, et Jésus lui-même, Jésus son gros politicien. Et dernièrement, je fait une discussion avec Jésus là sur question de politique, parce que je appelé Bible là, parce que faut qu'on lit Bible aux amis auditeurs. Jésus qui dans pile parole dans politique parce que Jésus, les gens malades, Jésus là, li guéri. Jésus son gros politicien parce que les gens grand goût, Jésus dit Jésus à mon ami mon grand goût là mon frère. Jésus pas dit al les président, Jésus pas dit al le ministre là. Jésus te touché manche chemise et puis il dit là mon cher qui te fait un miracle là, qui te m'a peuple à manger. C'est-à-dire Jésus son nègre qui comprend si pasteur a pas qu'à faire miracle pour mettre l'argent dans poche Jerry. Si Jack n'a pas qu'à faire miracle là pour payer assurance machine Jerry. Au moins il doit parler là pour un gouvernement qui vous fait bailler au marché pied. Parce que Jésus lui-même il te fait assez. Jésus te dit nous là et monde qui grand gros ba manger. Monde qui malade yo ba la santé. Si Jésus busy doing something else, so nous-mêmes faut nous parler, on connaît qui est qui capable d'aider. Parce que là ba yo extrêmement difficile de nos jours. Question extrêmement difficile. Là, tu attendez la question de un bon programme y a coupé dans question de l'école par exemple. Et dans question l'école, un bon programme que petit monsieur a coupé. Petit monsieur ça yo même yo paquet. Comprendre? Pas dit yo c'est chrétien, comprendre? Ou tande et mon al prier pour yo, même pas connait qui est-ce que Jésus a prié pour monsieur? Parce que si Jésus a prié pour monsieur, les consales te repenti. Les consales pas tap bon cœur de pierre. Il va tap on est cap mener la peine sous la terre. Donc, amis auditeurs, n'a quitté là parce que là nous est monsieur là, il a fait manigancer parce que nous va gagner un lot et Yvette parce que là nous bon radio. La presse c'est quatrième pouvoir lié. Là veut dire là faut c'est pas comme si et chaque lait et nous gon bagay pour nous réunir sous le radio. Non. Faut gagner un comité qui a réuni chaque semaine au moins pour nous garder qui direction n'a pas radio. Comment radio a marché? Est-ce que micro ça en forme? Est-ce que radio a dans l'air? Est-ce que Jerry a gagné papier comme si là pour l'imprimer quelques documents? Est-ce qu'elle gon research team? Nous besoin research team là. Est-ce que radio a gagné avocat? Est-ce que radio a là et gagné là si nous avons problème? Si nous avons invité, comme on a précisément. Vous comprenez? Est-ce que nous avons radio, nous avons un projet de 5 à 10 ans pour lui? Est-ce que nous avons radio lui-même, nous avons pour elle, puis vous comprenez? Donc, il faut que nous réfléchir. We need a brain. Parce que je comme si, il faut que nous ayons qui a l'esprit de créativité. Parce que si nous fait tout effort, ça, regardez. Si nous fait tout effort, ça, c'est parce que nous avons aimé pour radio lui-même, il fait plus haut. Parce que je ne jamais dans un team qui a perdu. Je ne jamais rentrer dans aucun team qui a perdu. Plutôt moi-même souffrir. Plutôt c'est moi qui souffrir. Make sure que le team n'a pas gagné. Donc, je pense que c'est ensemble pour que nous soyons capables d'avancer, pour que nous garder et comment. Parce que là, nous sommes garder les pays qui sont dans le du monde. Tout le monde. D'après les qui mal à l'aise là. Bon, moi Jean-Renal fourré ma et Brésil sous d'autres, bon c'est deux nèg qui mettent Argentine sous d'autres, mais quand il haïtien qui vraiment mal à l'aise. Après Brésil fait que saute éliminer Haïti là, quand il haïtien qui mal à l'aise. Vous comprenez? Yo te kon chauffer Brésil, yo te kon chauffer Argentine. Mais dans moment qu'on a pile nèg qui mal à l'aise parce que c'est ça veut dire c'est vrai haïtien authentique là. Ou pas capable mal à l'aise. L'amour te kon gen pour Brésil, ou te kon gen pour Argentine nan. Ou pas ka gen même l'amour ça. Parce que ou même yo flanc dehors et dans mondial. C'est pas sélection yo éliminé non, c'est chaque grand haïtien qui gen sentiment. Chaque grand haïtien qui remet pays yo senti yo lésé. Senti si yo te a joindre habit là, yo t'a dit monsieur au moins quelques paroles. Pour ne pas rentrer dans comme si laisser frapper, vous comprenez, tacler pied, vous comprenez, secouer, vous comprenez, et fait et arranger figil, vous comprenez, fait figil vin on dit en piron, vous comprenez là fait et fait biscuit, ça veut dire si le gain 5 côtes, vous fait 5 côtes là tourner 10 côtes, vous comprenez là ou a besoin bâtir biscuit li, vous comprenez pour que l'estomac qui vient pour gagner 6 pack qui n'est demandé, vous comprenez fait côte li comme si là ou arranger ça veut dire t'as pas arrangé monsieur dans l'autre sens, dans l'autre style. T'as fait monsieur là et soit vin pi haut ou bien vin pi haut. Donc c'est monde pour c'est intérêt parce que politique là sont générés. Et c'est le Jésus qui fait soleil là briller pour tout temps. Et c'est le de soleil là briller pour tout temps. Parce qu'il est capable mais et moi je pense que là il y a différents magistrats Ras Baraka après bon pas même pas parler sous question de Donna Jackson parce que quand conseil women la monter et dans nous ak la même bail ça va suivre. I'm gonna have to follow Donna Jackson with the mayor Ras Baraka. I don't know if she gonna change or if she gonna still stay the same. I don't know about that, but this is a good situation to watch. I'm gonna have to watch that even closer. Est-ce que là, Dana va commencer par sous Ras Baraka? Et bien ça peut être là où est Orange. Mais ça me remarque, c'est que toujours on sait de bataille, on sait de contrainte entre concile même ensemble avec magistrat. Les conseils pas jamais bon pour ville là. Les conseils ville là toujours bon ensemble de problèmes qui pas capable de résoudre et on va encourager aucun consilman ou bien consilman pour rentrer dans la logique ça ensemble avec magistrat. Ni nous pas conseiller magistrat ou tout pour rentrer dans la même logique là. Faut nous féliciter Mayor Ras Baraka, faut nous féliciter le nouveau magistrat Belleville qui c'est Franck Delès. Pendant qu'on sait de monde la parler démocratie mal et moi démocratie lui-même la bail quelques bon petit coup de tête. Parce que là, nous avons Franck Delès, un jeune petit gars, un jeune petit garçon, qui parle de démocratie et en bien. Nous avons la magistrat Ras Baraka qui vient avec deux petites filles, une petite fille avec un petit garçon. Je pense que c'est à féliciter. OK. Et gagner l'autre des jeunes Timontou qui eux-mêmes, dit eux-mêmes là, et c'est la démocratie, il y a pas cher, il y a pas de ça et on sait de monde dit c'est démocratie en lui-même li la pour lutter si on ne pas comprendre démocratie that's on you c'est pas démocratie en lui-même qui a un problème mais son série de monde qui pas et comprendre et comment démocratie en lui-même fonctionne et comment pour que yo et faire et avancer n'a dit tout le monde on merci n'a pas parlé mardi si mon Dieu pendant ce temps ça il y a différents programmes que vous faites, soit dans le parc, soit dans la librairie. Pas quitter chalet à la fin, finir ensemble avec nous, mais dégagez-nous, allez essayer. Et sortir ensemble avec Timounio, aller dans le parc, aller, on sait de côté pour que nous soyons capables de joindre un petit bout de fraîcheur pour que nous soyons capables d'avancer. Donc, j'en nous connais, moi-même, nous tous. Mais moi, mes démocraties, on va passer nous toutes. Parce que c'est lui-même qui a nous anti-crasse. Qui a nous et ça qui est capable de aller là, anti-crasse la paix. Pour ne pas avoir un bourreau, pour ne pas gagner là, on sel coq chanté, qui a bien fait et des faits. Non, et zobratet nous, amis auditeurs. Pas oublier, et commencer par caler nous, commencer par préparer nous pour que nous on est qui ça n'a fait dans mois novembre ça qui pral vin là parce que c'est extrêmement et important amis auditeurs. Faut que nous saluer tout Tony Voice ensemble avec Chanette Frédéric qui yo même là joindre l'autre mandat malgré et yo pas invité nous faut me le Chanette pour dire ça fait même bataille dans inauguration bataille même parce que faut que te demande une invitation spéciale parce que pas capable être n'importe qui monde être là faut respecter faut respecter ton Dieu, faut respecter Dieu. Regarde, t'as dit ça, faut que vous une invitation spéciale. Premier rang, première classe. Haïti, première classe. Bataille même dans l'inauguration.
Our nation was also built on slave labor. And our nation had this Dred Scott decision, which literally said African Americans were not citizens, not entitled to be citizens. And what that wrong was finally righted when that Dred Scott decision was overturned by the constitutional amendment that did establish the right of citizenship.
Thank you. T'as parlé mardi si bon Dieu plaît. All right, thank you. Merci tout le monde. T'as parlé mardi si bon Dieu plaît.
L'œuvre de la radiodiffusion effective de la vulgarisation de l'évangile de Jésus-Christ. Radio Olivier, la station du dernier temps.
If it's a fine, but they no fine past you. Oh, nah, nah. If it's a bad, but they no bad past you. Bad past you. If it's a carry, they no carry past you. Carry past you. If it's a bad.